All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something super interesting, how countries can crack open brand new, massive markets. And we're going to look at this through a really fascinating example, the trade relationship between Brazil and Bangladesh, which you'll see is, well, it's pretty lopsided. So let's jump right in. Okay, let's kick things off with a number. A big one. $2.66 billion. That's how much stuff Brazil sold to Bangladesh in just one recent fiscal year. And we're talking about all sorts of things: coffee, sugar, even machine parts. A huge, steady stream of goods flowing east.
Okay, so remember that 2.66 billion. Now, get ready for the other side of the coin. $187 million. That's what Bangladesh sent back to Brazil. Yeah, quite a difference.
So you don't have to be a math whiz to see that huge gap, right? I mean, it's massive. But here's the really crucial thing to understand, and this is kind of the whole point of our explainer today. That imbalance, it's not a problem. Not at all. It's actually a giant, blinking neon sign. A signal that points to a massive, totally untapped opportunity.
See, what that gap is screaming at us is that businesses in Bangladesh have barely even begun to tap into the Brazilian market. It's like they've just scratched the surface. So for them, this isn't some scary trade deficit. It's a huge, wide-open field just waiting for them to start planting.
And what's so cool about this is that it lines up perfectly with what Bangladesh wants to do as a country. I mean, their own official export policy is all about this exact thing: finding new places to sell their stuff and diversifying beyond what they're already known for. And Brazil? It's sitting there like a prime target, checking all the boxes.
Okay, so that really is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? How do you actually do it? How do you go from seeing this potential on a spreadsheet to actually making sales and shipping goods? Well, the answer is, it's a tool that's been around for a while, but man, is it powerful.
Let's talk about something called the trade mission. This is the secret sauce. It's the key that's specifically designed to unlock a market that feels, far away, maybe a little complicated, or just plain hard to break into.
So what is it really? At its core, a trade mission is basically a super organized, focused business trip. Think of it like a special forces team for business. It's a structured group with one single purpose: to open doors and connect the right people to the right opportunities. Simple as that. Now, I gotta make this super clear, and this is a really important distinction. This is not business tourism. We're not talking about just flying to a conference, collecting a few business cards, and calling it a day. No way. This is a whole different beast. It's about a series of planned, pre-screened meetings with real potential customers, all designed to build an actual sales pipeline.
And when you do it right, wow, the benefits are huge. For starters, you get instant credibility, right? You're not just some random company. You're part of an official group. You also get incredible on-the-ground intelligence, the kind of stuff you'd never find online. But really, the biggest thing? It's about building those real human relationships, the kind that lead to new products, new investments, and maybe even a say in how things are done.
Okay, so let's get back to our example. Bangladesh and Brazil. How does all this theory actually work in the real world?
Well, this is where a matchmaker comes in. You need an organization that can act as that critical bridge between the two countries. And in this story, that's the Brazil-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the BBCI. They were literally created to do this exact job, to build those commercial ties and turn potential into actual business. And here is a perfect example of their work in action. Check this out. The Made in Bangladesh Expo 2025, held in Sao Paulo. This wasn't just some run-of-the-mill trade show. It was a huge deal. It was billed as the first major showcase of its kind in Brazil, all about putting Bangladeshi products in the spotlight and, crucially, building a foundation for everything that would come next. And when you look at the impact, it went way beyond just one event. First, it gave Bangladesh a real commercial identity in Brazil. People knew who they were now. It also strengthened what experts call South-South trade. Two big developing economies doing business directly. And maybe most importantly, it was proof. It proved that this model, led by a dedicated Chamber of Commerce, really, really works.
So that leads us to the how-to guide, right? The blueprint for success. How do you actually organize one of these missions so that it gets real results? Well, it all boils down to two things: disciplined prep work and having a solid game plan.
Okay, first things first, you gotta do your homework. The prep phase is everything. You start by defining crystal clear goals. What do you actually want? Buyers? Investors? New partners?
Then you have to pick the right companies to go, not just anyone. And you do the heavy lifting on market research before you ever get on a plane. That way, you can build a highly specific target list. This is the exact opposite of just showing up and hoping for the best.
But look, the work doesn't stop there. How you execute the mission and what you do afterwards are just as important. Little things, like having interpreters or legal experts on hand, can be deal makers or deal breakers. And here's what I think is the most critical part of all. You absolutely must have a follow-up plan. A trade mission is a complete waste of time if everyone just goes home and the leads go cold. You need a system to turn those handshakes into actual contracts.
I love this quote from the Secretary General of the BBCI because it just nails it. He said, "A trade mission is not simply an overseas visit. It is a strategic market development instrument." See that? It's not a vacation. It's a tool, a serious one that needs money, discipline, and, maybe most importantly, a long-term vision.
And that's really the bottom line here. It's all about playing the long game. The goal isn't just to make one quick sale and move on. No, the real prize is to use this kind of focused, sustained effort to transform a market that seems difficult and far away into a stable, long-term source of business. That's the win.
So, that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? You know, as the world keeps changing, with supply chains shifting and old trade partnerships being questioned, could this be the answer? Is this focused, hands-on, relationship-first model the real blueprint for how the next wave of economies can find their footing and really succeed on the world stage?